Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. Now, you know, Harmony and others have shared struggles. How many of you don't have any? Anybody out here not got any issues? You got it all wired? Anybody? I was hoping we get one hand. I like to ask that because I ask that person to stand so everyone else can see what denial looks like. It's a good thing to be able to recognize. You know, we all have issues. I won't go into my worst ones, but I'll share one of them that I share sometimes that I was thinking about at dinner. So I travel a lot, and I'll get off my schedule and my routine, and when I'm on the road, I get fat. And that's just what happens. And so I came back from a trip, and I said, I got to get back on my program. I got to get back, and I'm going to do it. And I was really motivated, and I wasn't doing it. And I said, I got to do this. I wanted, and I told myself, and I wasn't doing it. And I read in one of those stupid books I write, what it said was that there's something you really want to do, and you're really motivated, and you're not doing it, you're not going to do it. It said that right in the book. I said, well, this is hopeless, but I kept reading, and what it said was, no, there's still hope because you're stuck at your own limit and that you can reach outside yourself and you can surpass that limit. But you have to reach outside yourself. So I go, okay, I'll hire a trainer. So I go to the gym, I hire a trainer, and they assign me this young, mean, skinny woman. So I got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going, and she's like beating me up and working me, and I go, 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 and I'm getting back on my program, and I'm so proud of myself at that point, and because it had been so long that I was back, I was back on it for a long time. My wife says about a week and a half, but it was a while. But one day I'm working it, and she's like, I don't know what a core is, but it's something for my core. And all of a sudden I looked at her and I said, oh no. She said, what? And I said, we forgot to take the before pictures. She looked at me and she says, oh, we still can. I don't know who sent her to People Motivation School. She needs to go back. But I start with that story for a reason. That's just true. Well, not that, obviously that part's true, but it's true that we all at some point, and many points, there's some place where we are and we want to get out of it. And we want to get to some next level. And you read everything out there in all the medical books, like at the checkout stand at the grocery store, where you see all the medical journals, right? And everything is basically about two issues, always. Just go look at this and everything. One of them is going to be physical. Nutrition, exercise, get your diet right. You got to get your body healthy. Absolutely true. You won't get to the next level in life. Our physical hardware does affect our performance in every area. Your blood sugar drops, you can't think. Your thyroid's off. There's a million ways in which that's true. The second thing you'll see is about the mental or the spiritual or the immaterial side of life. So you got the material one over here and you got the immaterial one over here. And we got to work on that. And I think, the physical stuff, your brain, that's the hardware, the circuitry, the wiring. But software runs that hardware. Wow. And the software is the coding that runs the equipment. So you get all these books and you get all this stuff and, about the software. You got to change your attitude. You got to change your belief system. You got to change the coding of the things you were taught and the voices in your head and all of this stuff that's in your head. And we see all of this focus on that. And that is fantastic because both of those are true. Your physical affects the software that affects your performance. Can I, either one of you have a heart condition or PTSD? You know, could you come up here for a second? So, I just want to illustrate. Tell her about your name.
Melissa.
We met Melissa earlier. So, Melissa, I wanted to introduce. Nah! Your phone number right now. Right now. What is it? What phone number? Phone number. Okay. All right. Now hang on. Hold on. It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
You know, we talked earlier.
We did.
That was nice. I didn't.
You yell at me again?
No, I'm not going to yell at you again. I promise. I bet you could give me your phone number now, couldn't you?
Right.
You can think now, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's what happened. So, I scared her. Okay. Her software, her coding, how she interprets events in the world, it told her danger. The hardware released a bunch of hormones, cortisol, stress hormones, adrenaline, a bunch of other things. And what happened is, as those got released, her thinking chemicals went down that drive her brain, where she can have judgment, make decisions, remember her phone number. And the hardware wouldn't work anymore. Okay? Now, a moment later, she remembered we know each other, we've had a nice dinner, she knows I'm her pal, right? And you could tell, what day is it? Saturday. All right. Now, what you just saw there, that's growth. All right? But we don't talk about the third piece. See, she's got this brain that's got to work for life to work. And she's got a lot of coding about what's safe and what isn't, and should I take a step forward or should I take a step back? But the third piece of that triangle, you've got the material, you've got the immaterial, but the third piece is another person. There's a third piece, the other. Okay? And what I want to share with you tonight, just for a little bit, is something I call the power of the other, because others have power. We're designed to be that way. And I want to unpack this for a little bit. And that's the best way I know to explain why Treasures is worthy of all of our support. Thank you.
Thank you.
I grew up with sisters. They used to beat me up. They were way older. Obviously, you can tell it had a big effect. That's why I became a shrink. No, I'm kidding. Sort of. But I used to want a big brother. I didn't have a big brother. Why can't somebody come into my life that can beat them up? And I'd pray for a big brother, which is a stupid prayer, right? I mean, how are you going to pray in a big brother? That's not going to happen. But adoption, that's good. Yeah, they never showed me the forms to fill out. But I'll tell you, finally, I got my brother. And boy, when I got a brother, I won the lottery because I got a Navy SEAL. Now, what I mean by that is I got my first brother, and he was my brother-in-law. And his name was Mark, and Mark was a SEAL. And these guys are crazy. I don't know if you've ever met a SEAL. Mark would go off on trips, and he'd come back and say, Mark, tell me a story. He'd say, well, you know, we jumped out of a plane in full scuba gear at 40,000 feet and then went through the oxygen level, hit the ice in the ocean and went down and went to the bottom and took a little nap because we had been up for 3 days. And then 6 of us boarded one of Saddam's ships and took it down and turned it around, took it to the UN, and then we had breakfast. Unbelievable. I mean, these guys are unbelievable. And you talk about people that get to the next level of development. What they do is amazing. But I found something out more about them. We lost Mark. He was killed in Iraq in 2008. It was a horrible, horrible time. Tori's sister Sarah and Mark had a new baby, and it was just devastation for all of us, the community, the family, all of his friends. Mark was a great husband, a great father, great friend, great everything. But here's what I learned. That week, a few of his Navy SEAL buddies, they don't call you and tell you this has happened. They come to the door in the middle of the night, and they walk through it with the family. And it was a horrible week, but as we went through it, I became friends with a couple of Mark's buddies, and one of them was named Bryce. And, you know, we'd sit around that we'd cry, but we'd tell Mark stories. And Bryce told me a story about when they were in training in BUDS, which is they have to start with the thousands that want to get down to the hundreds, and then they whittle it down, and finally there's about 200 guys that make it to this final part called BUDS, where they take them down off the coast of San Diego, and they take them through hypothermia conditions and pulling barges and swimming for a week. They get like 3 minutes of sleep, I think 2 nights of 7. And they're swimming miles, and they're, simulating all these war conditions, and they just break them. And it's actually designed to break them. It's not those 200 go through to the end, and then they judge who gets to be a SEAL. They start with 200, and the 25 left standing become SEALs. Because the rest of them, they've hit their limit. Emotionally, psychologically, physically. It's just more than they have. And Bryce was telling me that he was on the last swim at the end of the week. Mark was in front of him. Mark had made it to the shore. You make it to the shore and you become a SEAL. And he said he's got about 100 yards to go, and he's swimming, and he said all of a sudden his body wouldn't move anymore. He had hit his limit, and he literally, what is it because of lack of willpower or want to or, any of this stuff, he literally could not pull it off. He had hit his limit. And he was going down. You might have experienced, if you've ever been in the gym, you can pick up even a small weight. If you go long enough, I went to the gym once, and you do this long enough, and you will hit your limit. Everybody's got a limit. He's going down. He said he saw his life flash before his eyes. He knew it was over, and he's going down. He looked up on the shore, and Mark was on the shore. And he said he's going down. He's about to signal for help. And he looks up, and he said their eyes met, and Mark went, "Go!" like that. And he said, I don't know how to explain it, but my body got out of the water and made it to the shore. Now, here's what I want to ask you. What was that? What was that? What happened in that moment that got him past his limit? It wasn't a power bar. It wasn't physical. It wasn't nutrition. It wasn't, I just need to believe. If you can believe it, conceive it, and you can achieve it, and all of that stuff. It wasn't an attitude. He had that. What it was what we were all designed to need to get to the next level, and that was a relationship. Now, this is true from the womb to the tomb. We know this about from babies to geriatrics. You take geriatrics, heart attack and stroke, put them in 2 groups, the ones that just had heart attack and stroke. One of them has a support group to process their illness and have help and all of that. Second group gets the best medical care possible, but doesn't have that group. This group has way more second heart attack and stroke. But what is that? See, psychologists, philosophers, physicists, everybody for centuries have been trying to solve this mind-body problem. How can something immaterial that we cannot see, like love, like a relationship, like a connection, how does that change the hardware's ability to function and the software. How does it do it? We don't know. But we just know that it does. We know that. And we also know that it's the only way to get to the next level. Take a baby, and if you got a baby and you feed them and water them, they start to grow, right? But if that's all you do, if they're not bonded with, if they're not connected with, that baby gets to be 10 or 11 years old, starts to have behavior problems. We take a brain scan. We can look at this now. You take a brain scan, and literally in their brain are black holes where the circuitry, the wiring did not grow. The circuitry is not there. And they had the food and water. And they had the education, the principles. But they didn't have a relationship where the real stuff is really downloaded that makes everything work. That even makes the hardware there. So you're wanting this 11-year-old to say no. We talked about saying no earlier. And they click on that icon and there's no program there. And you take a young girl that's never had what they need with a Bryce, a mom, a dad, a grandmother, a grandfather, a friend, whoever. They might be fed and watered, but they get out there and they start swimming to the shore of life, and they know they're drowning, and they know they ought to hit that no button. But they click on that icon. There's no circuitry up there to pull it off. What's the best way to kind of make this simple? And I put a chapter in there called The Four Corners of the Universe. And I want to share that with you real quick. I want you to picture up here this, what do you call these things? Backup? Backdrop. See, we need each other. Okay, now there's four corners to this thing, all right? And I'm going to call that one corner number 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, repeat after me. What's that one? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's close in prayer. You know everything you need to know now. All right. So, how many of you have flown in an airplane lately? What's the first thing you do right when you land? If you're male, you do it 30 seconds before you land. Yeah, you turn on your cell phone. Right? You turn on your cell phone. Why? Because it won't function past the limit where it is. I mean, it can do some stuff, but it can't do what it's designed to do. You turn it on, what does the top left-hand corner say? Searching. What's it searching for? It's searching for a connection. And once it makes that connection, then it starts to download the stuff it needs in order to do what it's designed to do. Just like your computer does when you're getting updates. Now think about this. What happens to that cell phone sometimes when it says searching, and it's searching, and it's searching, and it's searching, and it's searching? It can't find that network. Let's call that corner number 1, no connection. Now, when you take a human and they live in corner number 1, no connection doesn't mean there aren't humans around. There can be people all around. But there's no connection from the heart. It's like that old George Thorogood song, when I drink alone, I prefer to be by myself. Right? There's no connection. What their basic needs, their human needs, are not being met, even though there's bodies around them. So we can't live there very long because our batteries run down. And that place, that corner number 1, is filled with depression, anxieties, paranoia, suspiciousness, lack of trust, And just think about the human soul basically going without food and water, because that's what's happening. So we can't stand there very long. So what do? We go looking for a connection. So we go over here to corner 2. And this is the corner I'm going to call a bad connection. Because you know what? And we've heard this through the stories. A bad connection is better than no connection. Because humans were designed for it. And I'll define a bad connection. It can be abusive. It doesn't have to be. It can have horrible things happen to you. It doesn't have to be. It can be just that kind of connection with a person that, and here's the bottom line, common denominator of all bad connections, you end up feeling bad about yourself, about life, about the future. Even if they're nice. Have you ever been in a relationship, you've had a boss where they might be nice, but you never can please them? Or a critical person? Anybody ever known a critical person? Don't turn to the one you came with. Yeah. But it's just like, I know I'm in this relationship, but I always go away feeling not good enough. Will you take it to the place where the people that Treasures interacts with, and the feeling of feeling bad from abuse and from being treated like an object and being all of this stuff, it won't work. That's not how Bryce gets to the shore. So we can't stand that very long. So if you're in a bad connection, what do? And you heard Harmony say this. She would leave, or her mother would leave, her bad boyfriend, and get away. But you go back over here, and here you are in corner. There's no connection. That chip inside is still searching. So then you go try it again, and then you try it again, and you go back and forth, and you go back to the boyfriend, you go back to the pimp, or you go back to whoever it was, because what else am I going to do? And people stay there for years. And then that doesn't work, so what am I going to, I got to feel better than this, right? So let's go down to corner 3. And corner 3 is a place where I feel good. It's the pseudo connection. It's I connect to something that takes the pain away. Something that makes me feel okay. It might be drugs. It might be another substance. It might be internet porn. It might be more income. It might be trophies. It might be accolades. It might be an illicit relationship. But it's something, at least, that gets me away from that feeling, and for a little bit, at least I feel good. Like a Twinkie. Sorry. But the half-life is not long. Because after that last fix, you got to have another one. Pretty soon. Pretty soon. And then you find sooner. Then you find sooner. And pretty much it's like there's not enough of it. And so then what do you do? I gotta stop doing this. So we go back to corner 2. Or go back to corner 1. Some people go to corner 2. They don't even need another person. Right? You can do that in your car. There's enough critical voices in your head. Corner 2 is cheap. You don't really need somebody. You can do that with the critical voices in your own head. We all know that feeling. So what we do is, you ever been to Europe where they have the roundabouts? Boy, that is a trip. We're just on this roundabout. Seems like every exit we get off is one of these, leads back to one of these corners, until we look on the shore and we don't know what we're going to do. And Mark reaches out and he says, go. What corner is that? Corner 4. That's where there is a real connection. A real connection. One that picks you up on a bus bench at 2 in the morning. And I bet if we played the video, you could tell us of corners 1, 2, and 3 when she came and picked you up various nights. And see, what we're talking about here is thousands, hundreds of thousands. When you start to get around the globe or more, of little girls. And little girls, you keep feeding them and watering them. What do they turn into? Hard questions come later. What does a little girl that you keep feeding and watering, they turn into women? Thank you. That's why they ask you to be the MC, right? They turn into women, but not on the inside, people. Not on the inside. Because they never had a corner 4 connection to download to them the power that makes it all work. So what happens is Treasures comes along, and Treasures finds them in those corners and says, come on over here. And you can hang out with us, and we're going to download some really good stuff to you. So I think I've got my point across. Every one of you is sitting here tonight, and some combination of all these corners. You know, we can go through these corners in a minute and a half. I mean, we're all floating through this all throughout the day, right? You can see yourself. You go talk to your boss, and that was a corner 2. Well, I'm going to have a big lunch today after that meeting. We all do this. But the goal of life is to be a corner 4 person and to find corner 4 people. And God bless Treasures. And I ask all of us to reach in the various ways that we have resources, connections, and networks, and checkbooks, and other things that we have. And let's join this group, and let's go find a bunch of little girls in big girls' bodies that need to be more than fed and watered. And they will grow, and they'll turn into Navy SEALs. Yes. God bless you guys.